All right, Leighann.
Got it.
This is Leighann,
Yes.
and you're here on our podcast, which is I'm Fine Saving. Thank you so much for taking the time
Oh,
out.
you're very welcome. Glad to
Yeah.
be here.
You know what's so crazy about it? It's like I randomly asked you if you'd do this for me. You said yes. And by the way, people tell me no, which I don't like. But anyway,
Really?
oh yes, I want to say thank you for that because you could have been like, "Are you crazy?" I think
Well, I tell people all the time I sell boxes for a living.
you said
So
what
they
for a
ask me
living?
to boxes, like empty cardboard corrugated boxes. That's why I'm the box lady.
Seriously?
Been seriously, I've been doing it for 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah, packaging's huge, but I sell boxes for a living. So just don't get very technical because I mean, I can tell you everything you want to know about a box, but anything else is
Right.
you're not going to get a good answer.
I got you. Well, anyway, thank you so much. You know that now that TikTok is, they say it's like basically the new Tinder. If a man asks a woman to do anything in messages, then automatically it's assumed that you're trying to get a date. But thank you so much.
No.
I appreciate that.
No. I think there's a lot of good things that come from TikTok that I know that I didn't realize,
Yeah.
and that's part of what I want to talk about is the group of people that I've met and what we've been able to do. And I've met one of them in particular, one specific lady that I've met in person, and she has really impacted my life in a lot of ways. And there's been more than one that has. And that's the side I didn't expect. I just wanted to watch videos and laugh a lot. But making connections with these people that across the country, across the world, that you can join together and make a difference on
Yeah.
things that really matter. It's life changing.
I like to really think about like TikTok like this, like somebody I follow like on social media that's a big influencer. They talk about that social media ages, like meaning that TikTok even started as kids dancing. That's how it started, right? In other words, like 2 years ago, my own kids were laughing at me because I was on TikTok. You know, I mean,
My kids
seriously,
hate that I am.
meaning
Yeah,
that
they hate it.
I didn't belong really in their
Right.
mind. You know what I'm saying? And now it's kind of changed. And I think that, and I'd like to believe this, maybe not, maybe the maturity of the people on it also matures like what we do. Cause I see a lot of good stuff on there too. And so
Yeah.
I'm like me, you know, I'm thinking about suicide prevention. I'm thinking about mental health. I'm thinking about all these things. And then the stuff you're talking about. I mean, you messaged me originally, or no, I said thank you for the follow or likes or something like that.
Right.
Which I try to do to a lot of people, you know, as long as they have videos or something and they are liking my videos, I try to, you know, say thanks for the love. But tell me what you messaged me like the very first time when you were telling me.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. What did I say?
No,
I
you were
don't even
talking about the
remember.
lady. You started telling the story like
Okay.
I stopped you. I stopped you.
Yeah. So I met this group of people and just really about supporting each other and being there for one another and on videos or whatever. And she and I connected. We had a lot of similarities, a lot of things in common. And she's in Florida, but she had a sister here in Tennessee. And so we got to know each other on and off the app. And she was going through a really hard time. And I knew that she was, but every time I talked to her, like, I'm fine. You know, that when I saw the name of your podcast, that was what got my attention.
Yeah.
Because she kept saying, I'm okay. I'm okay, Leighann, I'm okay. And I said, but are you?
Right.
Well, then a lot of things happened. There were a lot of dynamics going on in her life at the same time. But basically, she went to the doctor because she was having a lot of stress and anxiety, and they put her on multiple medications. And I was on a live with another one of the ladies in our group, and she jumped on in the box and she said she didn't want to be here anymore.
Wow. It's crazy.
And yeah, I mean, and this whole group was, Jody, just please, just don't. And so then after she said it, the box disappeared because TikTok kicked her off because that's one of the words that you don't say.
Right. I have to change my words on how in fact, when you sent me the original message, I know you've seen this before, it automatically, like because you said suicide or something like that,
Right.
automatically through like basically an automatic response saying, do I need to report this person for, policy or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. So she said that, and then the box disappeared.
Wow.
My heart stopped.
Yeah.
So I jumped off the live and I called her and she wouldn't answer. And so there was a couple other people, and she had connected me with her sister that was here in Tennessee.
Right.
And so I immediately got in touch with her, and she got in touch with another family member that was close by, and they sent the police officer to do a well check, and they got her and took her and saved her life. But she had taken a whole bottle of pills.
Well,
And
basically you saved somebody's life.
yeah.
Didn't you?
And yeah, I mean, we did.
I
Yeah.
know. That's pretty
I mean,
amazing.
it gives me goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps. And then, so that was November the 3rd.
Yeah.
And then at the end of November, I went down and met her face to face. Stayed with her at her
Now she
home.
lives in the same state as you in Tennessee?
No, she lives in Florida. No, she
Oh,
lives in
wow.
Florida.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was down there working, and so spent the last few days of the week with her there. And I mean, it was like we knew each other forever, and we never missed a beat. But we went and we got our. Can you? I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it for the podcast, but it's a heart with the semicolon, meaning our stories aren't over. That it's just the beginning.
I don't
And
know if I've ever seen that before.
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever seen that tattoo before, which is a heart.
Yeah, it's a heart then with the semicolon on it.
Yeah.
I can't turn my arm the right way. But yeah, so, and the semicolon is the symbol of my story isn't over, it's just a pause. So the rest of my story continues. And so we both got the tattoo while we were together down there, and we met, and I call her my soul sister. I've got a couple like that. And it's like we've known each other forever, and it was through TikTok.
How do you think that, like, I mean, and I ask this because, like, I'm so curious how people, like, our mental health system in America is just horrible. I mean, in my opinion.
Oh, it's terrible. They put her on a blood pressure medication, a sleeping pill, and an antidepressant at the same time, and she had not taken anything. So her blood pressure dropped, which makes you feel horrible.
Right.
The antidepressant, it has to get in your system and level out. And then the sleeping pills, what did they expect to happen? I mean, it's broken so bad.
What do you think, like, in that particular case, like, initially this, the system's broke, right? But you did what you could do. We all, even this, whoever going to do the welfare check, they're only doing what they can do. They're trying to do the best.
Right.
So I'm so curious, like, how do you think, is there any ongoing, like, in your opinion, like, things that you do for her or that she's doing for herself that's helping her, like, really heal from this? Or do you have any thoughts on that?
She is seeing a counselor. She is seeing a professional counselor. And I talk to her every day. Right. And several other people that have connected with her are also connecting with her every day, talking about it. She talks about it. She went on TikTok and talked about her story and how there were multiple people involved in getting to her from another state, thanking everybody. But she didn't want to go. I mean, and that was what I took away from it, is that you didn't really want it to work, but you didn't know how to not do it.
When you say she didn't want to go, you're saying she didn't want to die, right?
Right, because why would she come on the live and tell us that she was doing it if she did? Yeah. She was just reaching out. She just didn't know. And I've been there. I was in the deepest, darkest depression several years ago, and it was all chemical related. And our bodies are incredible, but they can really let us down sometimes. And there was a lot going on in my life, and I was in the deepest, darkest depression, could not see out of it. And my mom was my strength during that time. I would call her every day, and I was like, Mom, just pray. Just pray. I want to drive my car off a bridge, but I'm not going to, but pray.
so a couple of things. One, if like after this, do you mind sending me like her username?
Oh, no,
Like
I do
send it
not
to
mind
me.
at all. She would love to tell the
No,
story.
I'd
She's
like
all
to
about
connect.
awareness.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with her. I think that's great. I would love to hear that. And then I think when we publish the podcast, then maybe she would like to hear it too. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, she will. I talked to her and told her I was doing this. I wouldn't
well,
talk. I wouldn't tell. It's her story to tell. I wouldn't tell it without her knowing about it. So yeah, I will.
plus, I mean, I think it would be good for her to listen to some of the podcasts, of the other episodes because, I think you listened to some. Have you? I think you
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I did.
like,
Yeah, I
me
did.
interviewing my aunt and I mean, so many other things. I think when you
Hmm.
hear from other people's perspective, it just, in other words, we're all going through stuff, right? I mean, we all have our stories. So, and I want to ask you about this, and I don't know if you're willing to share it or whatever, but, you know, are you willing to share like when you went through your deepest,
Oh
darkest time?
yeah,
Okay, I'm
absolutely.
curious about that. What was
Yeah.
going on in your life?
Um, I had several years before I had lost a job I'd had for 11 years,
Yeah.
and I was able to get
The
another job
boxes?
right away. Yeah, it was still a box. The box business is vicious. I mean, it sounds like it's not, but it really is.
I'm not making fun of it.
Very.
I'm not like,
No, I
you said
understand.
boxes, I
When
thought something
everybody
else.
has, I know everybody has the same. Everybody has the same reaction that you do. But no, just brown boxes. Like everything that's made goes into a box, so that's it.
For sure. I mean, makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. So, but I had lost my job and 11 years with the same company. And then I was able to get another job, but I was making a lot less
Right.
and lost my house, had to move into a not so wonderful home
Right.
and just it it was awful. I mean, it was like my kids left to go to college.
Yeah.
One was in college and the other one was working, living on his own. And I've been a mom all my life. That was my favorite job, was being their mom. So when all of this stuff was happening at the same time, it was just like my world was falling apart. Everything that I knew and was comfortable was changing. And I was not thrilled with my job. It paid the bills that I had, but it was still very traumatic and very awful. And I just I didn't see any hope in what could change that would make it any better. And it was just a situation where I finally realized it's not about what you have,
Right.
it's about who you have and the support system you have for the people that are in your life and God. I mean, I'm very spiritual, very faith. My faith is my foundation and grounds me in every possible way. And I knew I kept my prayer was, God, I know this isn't this pain, this sadness. I know that's not what you want. So if you'll just show me your plan, I'll do it.
Right.
Just push me down that path and just let's take the quick route. I don't want to be here anymore. So just let's take the express route and get around all this crap and get to the good stuff. And it was almost like it was just like a peace. You
Right.
hear that sometimes. My circumstances didn't change. I
Right.
mean, I didn't win $1 million and buy a big fabulous house. My circumstances were the same, but the joy and the peace that I found was from within. It wasn't from the circumstances or anything that was happening around me. And it just I found joy in doing things for other people. And by doing things for other people, it took my mind off of myself and I wasn't as focused on the bad stuff in my life when I was helping them overcome the bad things in theirs. So it was a win-win situation.
I listen to what you're saying, and I mean, first of all, I am a Christian. I, I, I'm always careful saying this because people because they listen from wherever and they get this
Right,
preconceived notion in their head, right?
right.
I don't, that's why I hesitate saying it, but ordained minister, of course, man.
Hmm.
And that means nothing besides God is really important to me. I'm very
Right.
spiritual. That's what it means. That's it. End of story. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not judgmental. I believe the opposite of that. I believe in grace. I believe in all of it, you know?
Right.
And I mean, like people can beat you up over stuff like that. But
Oh, yeah. Everybody has an opinion.
yeah. So I don't get into it. But here's the thing, because like I guess the best way to say that is I'm not trying to convince you. I'm
Right.
not. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I just have my own
Right.
beliefs, right? And so when I hear you say that, I completely understand. And but I'm also like flabbergasted. I like that word. Flabbergasted by the fact that, yeah, I'm flabbergasted by the fact that, do you know the suicide rate for Christians and non-Christians is the same?
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm also, you've heard this, but I'll say it again because it just, I mean, amazes me, truthfully, that the divorce rate is the same for Christians and non-Christians. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
is. Somebody is probably going to message me later and say, you're not completely. That's fine. I
Well,
don't have to be completely
we're
correct.
all flawed. We're all
The
flawed.
point
None of us
is
are
that, and
perfect.
that just blows my mind. You know the number. So I have a TikTok about this, but I attempted suicide when I was 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a Christian then. I was a Christian then. And I got the worst mental health treatment ever for a teenager. And I have kids, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about that. I think about it because I'm like, why did I think about doing it? Why did I attempt to do it? I worry about my kids. I worry about all of it, right? And, of course, our spiritual, like who we are, just our spiritual side is so important. The number one thing for me, like as an adult, I've had those low, bad moments. I have like really as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
like I've had some bad moments. And what I've realized is that number one, my kids, I never want to do that to my kids.
Right. Yeah,
I,
that's the first thing I thought. That's probably the thing that saved me from it.
I would love to, it would sound real pious and just real smart to say, God saved me in those moments, but it's actually my kids. But it was
Right. I
God
agree.
pointing me to my kids, which is smarter.
Mm-hmm.
God is smarter than I am. Definitely my kids. Like, I don't want them to deal with that. You know what I mean? I do not
Right.
want them to deal with that. And you know what? I doubt they might, because it's been our family. We've had too many people commit suicide in my family. But the thing about it is that I think they recognize it, of course, now because of too many people committing suicide. But on the same point, what I really hope they see is that their dad is not going to be leaving this earth because he loves you, right?
Right.
And some people listening to this podcast or listening live or whatever, they could be like, that could be a guilty moment for them, right? They could feel guilty because maybe they done whatever, maybe they did attempt suicide when they were, an adult who had kids. It's that is, I don't know. That to me is like, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I don't know. I think about that, like the spiritual side to me is like huge.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know why. I want to know
Mm-hmm.
why it's equal for people who are not Christians and they're Christians. I want to know why. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't have the answers, and I know you don't.
No, I can guess. I can speculate. I think for me, at the time when I was feeling that, was take me, Jesus. It's like, I don't want to be here anymore. We talk about heaven and how wonderful it is, and you don't have the heartache, you don't have it. It's like, just take me. I'm not going to do it myself. I'm too big of a coward, Lord, but please just take me.
Oh, I
Now.
love that you use that word. I love that you use that word. I love that.
What?
So I preach, my both cousins committed suicide, but my cousin committed suicide in June, and I preached his funeral, and literally, I used that word. I used that word 8 years ago before that. And what I was saying was his brother committed suicide. And so I thought 10 years earlier. And I thought I was a coward at times because I couldn't do it.
I couldn't.
I mean, think about how crazy that is. I thought I was a coward because I could not kill myself like my cousin could.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Courage is so much different than we think. I mean, truly, I love that you use that word because.
And thank God I was.
You know what? But courage is the opposite of that. You took courage not to do it. But I thought differently at the time. Like when you're in this deep, dark moment, you think, oh my God, these people who do it or have done it that I know, they have courage. No, they don't. They're cowards. You know how hard it is to live this life?
We stayed.
You know how hard it is to live this life?
Yeah, and that's it. We stayed.
It's so hard.
And there were times that I remember that my parents would try to help me, like not in an emotional capacity, just support wise, financially, whatever, however they could do everybody. And I'm like, no, I don't want to miss this lesson because I don't want to go through this again. Whatever it is that I'm supposed to learn through this process, through this path, I want to learn it. And I have shared my story several times I do a women's group and Bible study. And we talk about this kind of stuff. And the more we talk about it, the more we talk about your kids, they know because you talk to them openly. It is a lot to do with genetics, depression, and chemical imbalances, and all of that has to do with our genetics. And we have to talk about it where it's not a stigma, where in that moment, would I have been comfortable if I hadn't had the discussion with my mom, calling her and saying, Mom, pray, I don't want to be here anymore? That would have sent her over the edge. And she's a very strong woman, but still, that would have pushed her. I wouldn't have done that to her. I knew that she knew. And she knew that I wouldn't do anything. But at the same time, we have to talk about it. Kids have to know it's okay. And that's one thing that we talk about in our group that I'm on TikTok. Mental health and mental awareness. We have to look at it because there's still times that I have bad days. And I feel like part of what our responsibility is, once we live through something, is to tell that story that can help somebody else that might be going through the same thing. That's all we can do.
That was you're hitting on something that I'm like very impressed with, and I love it. And here's what you're hitting on that I realized after my second cousin committed suicide, that we have to talk about it. You know what's so weird? I mean, this is how our world is. This is how it can be on TikTok. It's like, I got to show you a fake version of me. I've got to literally, make myself look better. I've got to literally not tell you what's really going on in my life. And we do that in church. We do it everywhere. We do it with our own friends. We do it with our own family. We do it everywhere. I mean, you see it all over the place. Let me tell you something, Leighann. If I am not myself with you, then I haven't learned a thing. I haven't learned a thing. Do you understand that?
Same.
I have to be myself and I have to be vulnerable, which part of it, you can look at me. You have never met me, right? Never.
No.
This is the first time you've ever actually interacted with me.
Ever had a conversation, right? Yes. Exactly. Except in a message or a comment.
I could literally, even in this conversation, I could be fake. I could be whatever. No, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. And that right there makes all the difference. It's like, be vulnerable, be honest. I mean, I realized this, and I've said this a couple of times at least. Like, I attempted suicide when I was 17, right? And then I realized after my second cousin died from suicide that I'd never admitted to it. Like, I just buried it. So I threw it out there to the world, in my own little world. I threw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked by the comments from my own family. I was shocked from like, I guess I was so worried that it made me look weak.
Mm-hmm.
Made me look weak, like he's not strong enough, he's not good enough, whatever. I don't
The
care.
strength that it took you to come out and say that it's easier to say it to people that don't know you.
Right.
Because you may not ever see them again, but the strength that it took for you to come out and say that to people that were in your life, your family, the closest people to you, that took a lot of strength. That would be hard.
I think that like you're exactly right. I love the point you made that it's like we got to talk about it. That's what I've been saying. We got to talk about it.
We have to.
I
We
mean,
have to take the stigma out of it.
what if like right this moment, what if I'm really struggling? You know what the answer is?
Mm-hmm.
Ask somebody for help, like talk to somebody. And I mean,
Right.
if I, and I have in the last year, I've lost my shit. I like saying that. I'll probably get banned for that.
I know I've heard people say a lot worse. You're good.
Anyway, my point is I've lost my shit. And I don't care. I don't care that I've lost my shit. I don't care. So I love what you're saying. You know, that's vulnerable when you have lost your shit. And guess what? You
I
do
live
it.
to tell about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can call your neighbor and tell them tomorrow that bro lost his shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Right. It doesn't matter. And the fact that we're here and we're talking about it is what matters. And that if one person can hear that during that time and what happened to me then, through that time, I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
And what little I need, that it wasn't materialistic things, that it had nothing to do with anything but me. And the fact that I made it through that, and now I don't fear very much. You know, I could just, if I lost my job tomorrow, it would really be bad. It would suck. But whatever. I mean, you just roll with it. You have to, because whatever happens, there's always something on the other side of it. And you learn something from everything. So that's what I learned.
It's funny you brought up something before we started recording, before we went live. I laugh at this. I laugh at this all the time. So you brought up your accent, which you have. You have a southern. I mean, you
I'm
live
not
in
from New
Tennessee.
York. Let me just say that I'm not from New York.
Right. Would anybody? I mean, come on. First of all, there's nobody out there who would not think it was cool, crazy, and they would not be surprised.
It's awful. I hate it.
You don't hate it?
I hate it.
No.
I do.
That. That's horrible.
Well, just because I hate to hear myself. If I listen to a recording or hear myself talk,
By the way, do I
have
an accent?
No, not at all.
No, that's good.
No.
Here's the thing. The reason I love it is because you're worried about your accent. I'm not worried. You weren't worried, but you were just like, well,
no. I mean, I'm here, right?
I have an accent. Well, you do. And they're not surprised you're from Tennessee. They're absolutely not. Also, what I find funny about that, do you realize that people from New York, from Wisconsin, from South Dakota, North Dakota, people that like, I don't, get their accent, I'm like, or take a country like Puerto Rico or Mexico, or you go, do you understand? We all have our little accents, but we're all dealing with the same shit. We're all
exactly. That's true. That's true. Well, and you said, you were talking a minute ago about being open, being, whatever it is. I can only be me. I don't know how to be anybody else. And this is me, voice. I'm an open book. I have very few filters. I try to use some of them for this, but no, it's important to be here. I am, and I don't know how to be anybody else. So you get 100% me, whether you like it or not. So the voice is part of it.
The podcast cannot see you. TikTok Live cannot see you. I wish they could. I wish they could. Somebody out there, please help me figure out how to do that. But here's the thing. First of all, you're redheaded.
Right.
which I'm scared of redheads, by the way.
You
Second of
should
all,
be.
no, I
You
am.
really should be. Everybody should
truly am scared of redheads. I mean, it's like not like
be.
deathly
I
scared,
need
but
to make that like an
kind of
evil
scared.
voice.
Right. See, I'm scared of redheads, first of all. You're wearing a sweater that looks like a Dallas Cowboy sweater.
I didn't even think about that. No, it's not. It's not. Actually, my friend, the
yeah,
lady
but
I
I'm
was
from
talking
an
about,
area that
she
everybody
gave
loves
it to
Dallas
me.
Cowboys. I'm from, like, I grew up loving the Dallas Cowboys, and you're wearing a
Okay.
sweater
I'm
that
a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So Terry Bradshaw, whoever, Staubach, who was the quarterback for Dallas in the 80s.
I love it. So
I still have a Pittsburgh Steelers lunchbox from my
I love saying,
elementary school.
I've told so many people this. Like, do you realize, like, according to social media, according to, you know, TV, the news, according to them, you and I shouldn't even get along. But it's not true. We do get along.
No,
No, we do.
right.
I
Why wouldn't we?
made all those funny comments to just say, guess what? Yeah, you swipe away. She swiped away something. It's funny. Anyway, my point is, we can't get along. And by the way, if
Right.
you're from South Dakota, North Dakota, which is foreign to me, it's foreign. I've just never been there. I still know. I've been to Florida.
Mhm.
I've been to Tennessee. Well, no, I haven't. I actually haven't been to Tennessee. My point is, I haven't. I know. I said I want to go there. Yeah, I want to go there. Anyway, we're supposed to be like not enemies, but we're not supposed to get along, and we do. We can.
Mhm.
You know what? For a purpose like what we're talking about, which I think is cool. I think it's great.
I think we have to. I think the more people that are involved, more people that get on board with some type of, whether it's a podcast, a live, a group. And that's one of the things that one of my other friends are doing, are creating a Soul Sisters group on TikTok for just support. And it's not just women. We call it Soul Sisters because that's what we call each other. But it's just a group of men and women that support each other unconditionally. It's not about what you bring to the table. It's just because you're worthy of support. Everybody needs friends. And the more people we can get in the group and support, we want to laugh a lot. Just want to talk about anything that anybody wants to talk about. It doesn't have to be a specific topic. It could be somebody's having a bad day and they just need to get it out. Whatever it is, and that we can eventually get somebody in each state or in multiple states, so that in a situation like what I encountered, that somebody there would be able to go, maybe not at that specific moment, but that they would be able to get there within a time frame and face to face with that person and develop that bond and relationship.
I think you're pretty damn smart. I really do. But no, listen, you brought up so many points that I love. You just brought up another one, which here it is, which I struggle with this, honestly, lately. Like, no, not lately, like for several years now. You need a community. You need it. Right?
Right.
I don't.
And I'm not one to have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of friends.
That's me too. I mean, truly, like I have my circle. I do. And my
circle's small.
My circle loves me, but it's small. They love me.
Mine too.
But unfortunately, that's not good enough. You need community. And I don't care. I mean, they even talk about in the Bible, like the fellowship of the believers. It's not church necessarily. It's really not. It's truly not just that. You need a community. Your community, like me, I've always been crazy into CrossFit. That's community. That is truly community.
Right.
You can get community at church. You can go to church, you can get community also through a women's Bible study, for sure. Men's gatherings. I did men's retreat for 10 years. You need community. You really do.
You have to have it. I couldn't survive without mine, and I have multiple.
And if I'm being crazy vulnerable with you and honest with you, I haven't had that for a while. And I know
Okay, I'm going to follow up with you to make sure you do.
well, but I know you're right. My point is, I know you're right. I know you're right.
And it's hard. It really is, I think. And that's one thing I've seen on TikTok. You get the bad with the good. And I'll never tolerate a bully. And I'll never tolerate somebody picking on somebody. And that happens. So, and that's one of the, like, okay, this the only rule in this group of people is going to be no bully. And if you start your crap, you're going to be, we'll block you, because we that's the hardest part for
Right.
me about being in with a community or a group is trust. You have to be able to trust that the other person has your back and that they're not going to turn around and start talking about you, or the first time you need them, they're not going to be there. So it's got to be built on trust.
For sure.
And,
I'll
and that's
tell
just
you-
done with time.
yeah, for sure. You know, it's so funny. You remind me of a story. I've told this story again before. So I was married 18 years, right? We went to a church. By the way, my kids are they're good kids, right?
Hmm.
And they love God. They go and they just love God, right? And I'm so happy about that. I'm proud of it.
Oh yeah.
For sure. They've gone on mission trips. They want to, all these things. We lived across the street from our pastor, across the street, right? And he or the church had no clue we're getting divorced. None.
Hmm.
None. Okay. It's not his fault. It's not the church's fault. It's not our fault. A year later, I'm at a football game. The pastor who lives across the street from where I used to live, he says to me, "Hey neighbor, how are you?" And I thought in my head, he has no clue. You know why he has no clue? He did not know we got a divorce. He did not know that we're struggling. None of it. And that is not community. Community is something they know what's going on. You know why? You're not afraid to share it. You're not afraid to share it. You literally are not afraid to share it.
Because you trust the people that are in your community.
Now, sometimes you don't trust honestly, sometimes you don't trust church.
Exactly. Well, you don't trust the people sometimes that are closest to you, but you trust people that you just met. That's basically what.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So
By the way,
that's basically. Yeah, I trust you too. So we've created a bond here. We've got something going, and I think we have to. That community has to extend. I think we have a foundation. I think there's some good things that can come from TikTok, and I think this has got to be one of them. It's my priority anyway.
Yes. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you and appreciate.
Oh, you're thank you for asking me. I'm honored.
I think you're an amazing person. I really do.
Thank you.
Of course, I watched all your videos. I did.
I walk a lot. That's all I do is walk. I live in the boonies, so there's nothing else to do.
I want to say I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you asking me. I've enjoyed it.
In other words, I picked you because I knew you were right. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Well,
thank you. It was an honor.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell or say?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
All right.
I think I'm good.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.